it's Ebagoon. Welcome to another challenge scenario in my Age of Mythology Learn to Trigger Intermediate series. We've come quite a long way, but now we're going to look at creating a shop for multiple players in just one trigger using excess user code so we don't have to continually copy and paste the shop effects. As with all scenarios in the challenge section, you'll have to use your own triggers in order to complete this. So I've set up shop units for every player. I've asked each obelisk to either give 1 hit point, 1 hack armor, or 1 pierce armor to the Falstag Flag Bearer. That way you can see that it's working, and we're going to charge 1 gold for each stat. If we look at the objectives, it explains what we need to do, and you win when all players have purchased at least 1 stat. I've added a feature that makes this a bit easier for you in this map. If you click the coloured flags on the side of the map, you'll be able to change players back and forth while in the same scenario. If you look at my code, that is explaining how it's done. I've done this in excess, but this thing where you change players doesn't work online for obvious reasons. So, load up the scenario. The link for it is in the description. Create your trigger in the ungrouped section, and you're just going to be using 1 trigger using excess user code to make all the shops work for all 5 players. It shouldn't actually be that complicated. Have a look at my previous video on excess user code if you're not sure exactly what to do. I've also put some help in the spotlight section of this scenario. Have a go yourself, because next I'm going to show you how I did it. Hopefully you've had a go and then you've been able to come up with something like this. So what I'm going to do is, this is my shop all in one trigger. I'm going to loop it and have a conditional timer, so it's going to run every second. What code are we now going to run every second? I'm going to use excess user code. I'm going to set up my for loop. I'm going to define a custom integer of p, short for player. I'm going to set it for 1. And I want it to run for all players up to and including player 5. So I'm put 6 there because that symbol means less than. You could do less than or equal to 5, but I just prefer to do it this way. I'm now going to use conditional effects to check the unit is in area around this shop unit. So this shop isn't going to change. The player's still going to need to be fairly close. It's going to be player P, because it could essentially mean anything. So by using this, I'm coding this for every single player all at once. So if we have got our Falstag Flag Bearer, what are we going to do next? We need to check that the player has got the resources to do so. So I'm going to do conditional player resource check. So it's going to be player P again, gold, equal to or greater than 1. Then we can buy the effect. So what's going to happen here? I'm going to modify the proto unit. Player P again, always player P, because it means I code everything at once. And it's going to be the Falstag Flag Bearer, 1 hit point. We need to charge the player 1 gold for this, so -1 gold, player P again. And that's all we've done. That's the bare minimum, but it's usually nice to send a chat to let the player know that they've actually purchased it. We only want 1 player to see this, so +1 hit points purchased, and that's it. I'm going to then close my conditional brackets twice, because that's my shop. Now, I've got 3 shops to make here. They're all costing 1 gold, so what I could do is just have the conditional player resources first, and then do the in area for each bracket. I'm not going to do that in this example. I'm just going to copy over everything at once, just in case you want to make a shop where things don't cost 1 gold. So, same again, we're now at this shop, and instead we're saying +1 hack armor purchased. So we want to modify the hack armor, which is armor hack. We don't do 1.0, we do 0.01, because we're doing it as a percentage here. Copy it over. And now do the same for our last shop, except this time it's armour pierce that we've purchased. So you could do quite a lot with this when you're doing your shop. You could have a grant God power shop where you're granting to player P that. You could have some sound effects as well, but that would work for all players at once. So if you want specific effects for certain players, we're going to come into that later because that's a bit more advanced and has the potential to go wrong. Am I done with this? No, I'm not. I'm going to get a trigger error here. That's because my for loop is open, so I've got to use the curly brackets. Hooray, I'm saying curly brackets for once instead of square brackets in this video. Don't know why, just a habit. But that's closing the loop, so all our brackets are closed, and this is now going to work. Let's see it in action.
Skip
So,
something.
let's go and get some hit points. So you can see I'm purchasing hit points. The gold's going down, our hit points are going up. Switch player. I'm using the same code, so this should work. And indeed it does. Let's switch player again. Let's go and buy some armour. If it works for one player, we know it works for all players. That's because of our P loop and the code being essentially the same for every player. You can see that it's now working beautifully, so we've got different units in different players with different stats. We complete by purchasing for player 5, and the challenge scenario is complete. Both of these scenarios, both the blank and the completed versions, are available to download for you in the files I've linked in the description. I hope that was useful, and now we've learned how to make a shop for all players in one trigger with just one group of conditional effects per shop item. This is a really useful trick. It's going to save you a lot of time in your maps if you have a shop. We'll see you again in the next video.